October 22nd, what have you got for us? A lot of compromise and a bit of a square. Okay, so we are coming out of this Libra new moon energy. The moon will be void overnight, okay, and then it's going to move into Scorpio. So at 2:44 a.m., that moon in Scorpio, 0 degrees, is meeting up with the Neptune retrograde at 0 degrees. Now, Neptune is moving at 8:50 p.m. It is moving out of Aries at 0 degrees and it is moving into Pisces, right? So it's retrograding backwards back into Pisces. It'll be at Pisces, 29 degrees until it starts going forward again, right? So where we were, Neptune at 29 degrees, is March, right? So it would have been, we would have moved through 29 degrees for like the end of December into March, okay? So while we are finishing up the last part of this retrograde at 0 degrees, right, which is an anaretic degree, which brings a little bit of tension to it, right? And it's like a renewal, like this is the beginning, okay? But we are still going backwards. Now, the moon in Scorpio is going to be there with Mercury and Mars and Lilith, okay? So we have just come through this, plant the seeds of new relationship with that Libra new moon. And now because of that, we are in this kind of transformation, this like, what didn't burn, we're rebuilding something from it, right? And so the moon in Scorpio, it brings a lot of deep feelings. It brings a lot of kind of taboo things up. And we're looking back now and we're trying to understand, and it can be really difficult to understand, right, under a quincunx aspect. And we might not be able to make any decisions yet, and that's because Neptune is still retrograding. Same with the next one. Uranus is still retrograding and they're 0 degrees. But what we're able to do with this energy is we are able to remember to stay flexible, remember to make adjustments where necessary, even though we might not be able to understand completely what's going on, right? So this first one at 2:44 a.m., like on one end of this polarity of energy, you could be really dealing with like you've restarted something after finding out something very deceitful, okay? And then because of that, you can see everything else from a new perspective, right? And that's just one example of how this energy could show up, right? One of the other ways is that really you may be rebuilding your whole entire concept of what you deserve within relationships. And these two energies are going to allow you to kind of stay a bit flexible and open and like going with the flow of your healing, because Neptune's still retrograding, right? So we are still going back through making sure that we have really let go of some of that old emotional programming, especially related to like the end of December and the start of the year, right? And with Pluto now direct, Pluto went retrograde in May, so very close to that time as well. So we had Pluto move in November and then it went retrograde in May. And so during that time, we're dealing with this energy of Neptune being at 29 degrees of Pisces. And so with Pluto going direct, and then we get this square down here, it's lying out what we needed to see, right? It's helping us do what we couldn't do or chose not to do. So these compromising energies, and thankfully where we are in Melbourne, this is like the sleep time. So maybe we'll have some epiphanies in our dreams. But then we're waking up here at 5:28 a.m. because good luck being asleep during it. This is where we get to this 1 degree of the Scorpio moon. So it is going to be in a square with the 1 degree Pluto in Aquarius. And obviously the moon is being ruled by that Pluto in Aquarius because one of the rulers of Scorpio is Pluto. The other one is Mars, and Mars is in Scorpio. So it's being ruled by a Pluto in Aquarius and a Mars in Scorpio. So there is a lot of energy to this that is asking for your truth, right? To be comfortable in the darkness, to be comfortable with your truth, even if it is in the darkness. And squares are bringing friction. Squares are war aspects and they can bring a lot of conflict, right? I feel like this will be the big energy throughout the whole entire day. And especially that morning space, because that 722 aspect, it needs you to let something go, let an idea go, right? Potentially around your worth or around your money. This day can really read like quitting a job, leaving a relationship, finding out something very deceitful and needing to really make a fucking decision about it, right? Because this is compromise, battle, let it go, make a decision, let it go, is the story of the day, right? And it's moving through this 0 degrees. Oh my God, I've just found out. 1 degrees, like, what is my part that I played in it? And were you being selfish, right? And then the 2 degrees is really saying, like, what's it worth to me to hold on to it? Am I going to hold on to it just for the sake of stability? And then 6 degrees of that moon is being analytical, right? So I'm letting it go because now I'm being analytical. So these last two aspects, right? So after we are told, let something go from an inner belief system in regards to your worthiness and stability, like how you think stability works in a relationship, if you are outside of your worth, if you're not telling your truth, if you're putting your needs last, right? Especially when it comes to any kind of sexual energy, when we're dealing with Scorpio, sexual creative energy. So then 8:17 a.m., this is where we get this moment of stress, this moment of tension, this moment of anxiety, right? And this is going to be super annoying. It's definitely got to do with ego and confidence and creative personal expression, and whether you're able to achieve that, right? Like if you are in a relationship that isn't allowing you to be yourself, then how are you going to move towards being able to show yourself in a creative way? How are you going to express yourself personally? How are you going to feel confident in relationship in the future, right? So again, this is going to be a bit of a hazy aspect, right? Scorpio Pisces kind of energy can be a bit hazy, can be a bit dark. Okay, so these days, Scorpio moon, I think right now is a bit of a mental health, more of an emotional health warning, really. And then we're not getting another aspect till 2:47, which is quite literally, it's like, let it go. Like this realization that holding on to these past mentalities, upholding these past mentalities, that's how the trauma cycle starts, right? And we have come out of it. That's why we're at this 0 degrees. So this Neptune at 0 degrees of Aries, this last aspect it makes before it turns Neptune to 29 degrees of Pisces, it's being like, hey, like, remember, we're starting to build something fresh here with Neptune in Aries. And are we going to start from this place of, being self-critical, or are we going to start from this place of putting ourselves second and not talking about anything that we might be shameful about, right? Is that how you're really going to start off the next trauma cycle, right? So there's this understanding that is kind of coming through with this energy, especially because Mercury's in Scorpio as well. So it's really helping with the inner mentality that a Scorpio moon and a Scorpio Mars are trying to bring. And it's like, that's the question of the day, right? Are you starting off a new trauma cycle with the same shit you carried for the last 160 years of your life, right? So big energy. If you would like me to tell you how this is affecting you, you can come and book an appointment, and I can do a pre-recorded, or we can do a video call. So hit me up if you need some help. Stay weird.